Good evening, or really more like good morning, considering that it's 1:16 a.m. And so technically, my day 18 of this 30-day challenge is bleeding over into day 19. And I'm telling myself, I gotta get this live done. Even though it's the next day, I'm still awake. Therefore, it still counts as the same day. Or at least that's what I'm telling myself. Nonetheless, this is A Mind of Valor. I am Westerfield Tolbert. Thank you for tuning in. If you have been following me on this 30-day challenge, I have been making an effort to go live at least once a day, every day, so that I may work on improving my capacity to do live broadcasts and to build that skill set and to strengthen it in my wheelhouse. And also to uh, contribute to the public discourse around different topics, primarily framed from within the 25 contiguous A Mind of Valor principles. Now, I'm tired just a bit. It's been a long day. If you remember from a previous episode, I was traveling this weekend, so as you can see behind me, I am not in my normal setting. I am in South Lyons, Michigan today. Tomorrow I will be back in Louisville, Kentucky, and next weekend I will be back on the road again. Catch me in your city. Just to recap some of the things we've been discussing over the last 17 days, we touched on, let's look to our list. I keep pretty organized on the notepad, somewhat color coordinating it. So when I look to the pad, oh yeah, we did talk about physiology and how that ties into mindset. Resolve, language, vision, vices, ambition, aptitude or attitude, reciprocity, relationships, responsiveness, and orientation. Considering that I'm in South Lyons for a wedding, I think tonight will be appropriate to talk about love. Because love brought them together, right? Also, love is what will keep you together. It'll be like the glue. And how does that relate to your work? It's in your best interest to do work that you love. That way, when the going gets tough, you have an interest in continuing and persevering and displaying resolve and articulating through your actions all of those values that you've been building up, your storehouse. But all in all, if you do not love what you do or who you are or how you engage or how the world around engages with you, it may be difficult to have that appreciation and that esteem because love is such a powerful force. I've seen it conquer fear, traumas, loneliness, just with being loved the right way and recognizing and receiving love. It's a two-way street, the giving of love and also having the comfort to receive love and knowing how you receive love, what your love languages are, or how those operate in your life. In the context, though, of asking better questions, the theme that we keep touching on. If something is important to you, you would want to do your due diligence so that you know how to care for it, maintain it, sustain it, preserve it. The degree to which you go through those processes is the degree to which you love. It's very intentional, on purpose. And in fact, it is why you plan, because a plan puts measures in place so that you might have the opportunity to sustain. And when you are deviating from that which you've established, that's how you also know, because you're reflecting on the plan and then you're looking to the present reality or the location where you find yourself in that particular environment, in that space and time. It's all relative to how you have begun the process, how much effort and consideration that you put into the beginning, the degree to which you love, um, the degree to which you pursue solutions that are favorable to both parties via one of the 25 contiguous principles, reciprocity. We've been going over this for a couple of days now. And the more I talk through these different tools and instruments, the more I recognize the love that I've been pouring into this work. And for me, it's important that that is displayed and articulated. So when I come to this space, the degree to which I plan and I map out my presentation, my argument, the degree to which I research and understand my audience to know how to best communicate with them and nurture that audience. These are all different ways of saying I love you in a considerate way through actions in real time. And when you're looking at examples in your life and in your communities and in those circles of trust, you should be looking for the same thing. And when you're reflecting on yourself and how you articulate and express different ideas, you should be looking and saying, okay, how much time, effort, and consideration am I putting into this? Because if by default you're not putting that much time and effort, that's a reflection of how much you love that thing. Or if that reflection lets you know that this thing is important and I've been neglecting love, then you pivot and you adjust as you maneuver. All in all, the consideration for the way we love and how we want to be loved goes back to our values, goes back to these principles, goes back to different areas of competency. It extends into different professionals and experts from different subject matter experts, because how love is expressed in different environments and within different organic bodies is something worth understanding, because the pursuit of that knowledge and the pursuit of that experience to download it, to take it in, will then also help you to learn how to articulate what you are trying to put forth, and or to understand how somebody else, if you learn a bit of a language here, a bit of a dialect here, then when somebody presents that to you, you can know what you're looking for. You can recognize it with a better capacity. And the process is ongoing, and the relationship to these experiences, how we orient ourselves to these experiences. Orientation was earlier in an earlier episode. How we orient ourselves to the things we love will be a tell for us about whether that thing is as truly as valuable to us as we are maybe verbally expressing. Let's say we're verbally expressing it, but our actions don't articulate that. They're not demonstrating the love or the way to nurture that thing that I say that I love. You first have to learn about that thing. You learn how to love it, that environment, that person, that subject, that process. Learning to love the process. Again, it's learning to love the process of becoming the type of person that can love at a high level, that can vibrate at a high level, that can express and change environment just by entering that space. So not only am I vibrating higher, but my field is amplified. It's extending out so that when others come into my field, they are also changed by the experience. And then utilizing tools such as this platform so that the love that I have for the process can be expressed verbally and sonically and then be received. So not only are we vibrating higher and our field is going out, then we are also transmitting through these airwaves to connect in order to create community and safe spaces and learning how to nurture processes that would allow us to identify what those safe spaces are and then how to maneuver in those safe spaces using these tools to make the most of those experiences because they are worth going through and building strong processes around if you love those um, person, place, things. You know, I try to keep I try to use terms like um, that are more objective, just so I can expand it at a later time. I don't want to limit the subject to one thing, even though when you're dealing on the one-on-one with the tools, when you're using the tools, is often within what person to person broadly. When I'm trying to pull in more information, I try not to limit it just so that it can connect and touch more people and reach them where they're at based on what they know, based on their areas of expertise and their particular competencies and passions. The love that you choose to express will also be returned to you in in like kind. So it may not be expressed in the same exact way, but that energy will return. So it's just these are just things that to be mindful as we're putting things out into the universe, as we're making conscious decisions about how we ought to engage the universe and engage spaces and the things that we value and the vision that we have for entering spaces and changing spaces and environments. Without the without the love nurtured within, it makes it nearly impossible to have a positive attitude to go out into the world. And again, it makes it without that love concentrated internally. How could our language be the type of thing, our internal language now? As episode 11, when we spoke about language, our internal language. If there's no love, or the love is not for self is not strong enough, then our internal language is not going to be positive and affirmative. And then for the language that we speak into the world that creates our experience won't be loving and affirmative. And so being mindful of all of that is why love is something worth questioning and interrogating and building systems of understanding around, if for nothing else than to understand how you receive and express love. And by doing that, it will also uh, strengthen your toolbox with communication strategies and relationship building strategies. When you're dealing with other people, you can understand how they receive love, how they express love, what their languages are. And that way we can really communicate on a higher level, so that when we are in community and our fields are in community, there can be some harmony. And harmony allows for the building of shared visions. The proximity allows for building a strong language, a base of communication. It allows us to orient ourselves to those experiences in a more focused and concentrated way. It allows for there to be reciprocity and just an exchange of genuine interest and intrigue and accountability, which is fundamental. It it makes us responsive to the people around us and to the experiences and the environment. It shortens that window between a thought and an action, or a thought and or a question and a decision. So, for example, helping someone in need, being in community will shorten the time that you may have to think about it. So you get to a point where the the kindness is distributed before the ask even comes. That's being in community. That's love. That's communicating at a higher level. That's sensing someone else's field is needing or wanting and going to fill that gap. We'll come back to this subject. We will revisit the topic of love. To remind you how we got to the topic of love, uh, I'm in South Lyons, Michigan, for a wedding this weekend. And so I actually was at the wedding earlier, at the reception. Uh, that's why I wasn't recording earlier. But all that being said, it was a wonderful day. Shout out to the bride and groom. I won't put their names out here. I don't know what their concerns are with privacy. We never had that conversation. But I love them very much. And I was happy to celebrate with them. So they were the inspiration for love on this particular episode of The Mind of Valor by Westerfield, Tolbert show, podcast, dialogue, 30-day challenge, engagement. Thank you for joining me, and you'll be hearing from me soon.